Namo Phat, good morning. Thanks for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fifth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society, by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body, in my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I'm determined not to use alcohol or any other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I'm aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and the transformation of society. Our Dharma lesson today is Mindfulness of Awkward Feeling by Ajahn Amaro from Catastrophe, Apostrophe. Another of the ways of working with emotion and cessation is with respect to feeling socially uncomfortable. I call this mindfulness of awkward feeling. This can be very profound practice. This is the, oh dear, this is exactly what I didn't want to happen and it's just happened feeling. The, here's this person, they're really upset with me and I don't know what to say in order to make them feel okay feeling. Even though anxiety and worry have not been a big issue for me for a long time, I still often have that sense of, oh dear, what am I going to do with this? Or, this is really a puzzle. And I find that the mind is hunting for a way to solve the issue, to come up with an answer, to figure out what's the right thing to do. In this process, the mind is always trying to get away from that awkward feeling. In exactly the same way as when there's an emotional reaction of greed or fear or anger, and you catch it and spell it out, mindfulness of awkward feeling is the ability to catch what the mind is adding on to that moment. Say, this is the, here's this person, they're really upset with me and I don't know what to say in order to make them feel okay feeling. Rather than getting drawn into the content of the dialogue, you're looking at how you're experiencing it. So once again, it's not being drawn into the situation, but turning the attention back onto what the feeling is. It's particularly interesting that even though there might be a demand for you to make a response very quickly, even as the person is talking or even as you're talking, you can divide your attention and steer some of it back and reflect. This is an awkward feeling. This is the, oh dear, what on earth do I do about this one feeling. I use this practice virtually on a daily basis, often several times a day. I find it extraordinarily helpful because it doesn't mean you're switching off or ignoring the other person or the situation. Rather, you're simply not being drawn into your own self-centered reactivity, trying to get away from that uncomfortable feeling, but instead, you're recognizing that it's a mildly achy emotional feeling, no more than a physical ache would be. I feel whole books could helpfully be written about mindfulness of awkward feeling. It could save us a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, because we put a huge amount of energy in our lives to get away from the discomfort of, oh dear, what am I supposed to do with this? We find all kinds of ways of covering that up, getting away from it and smoothing it over. And we don't have to. Instead, we can say to ourselves, this is exactly what I didn't want to happen, and it's just happened feeling. That's what this is. And in a mysterious way, when you recognize the tensing in the system and relax with that, then there's an untangling, a decluttering of the mind. Sometimes what pops into your mind is, well, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm really not understanding it. Could you try that again? And you realize that's a totally valid thing to say. Or you might say, I usually have an answer for most people's problems, but in this case, I haven't got a clue. And so, to be honest, your guess about how to handle the situation is as good as mine. So let's look at it together. And you find that the tense, difficult thing that you were trying to get away from, you didn't need to be intimidated by it or feel threatened. Instead, you can turn it around and work with it. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at peace. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me today.